to introduce the bill?
I do.
Move.
Thanks,
Is the bill being opposed? No. Not opposed?
I hope you're not.
Okay. Deputy Kenny.
Thanks, Les Carncola. And I'm thankful, to say the least, of introducing this bill today. This has been a number of years in the making. I think the last bill that came before this House in relation to this issue was 10 years ago. I think Ireland has vastly moved on since then. Ireland's a very different place in relation to a lot of things, and I think it's a different place in relation to drug reform. The bill itself is quite moderate. It's amending existing legislation that dates back 42 years ago. Now, 42 years ago was a very, very long time, and I believe the existing legislation is out of date and out of time, and we need a different narrative in relation to drug reform, because criminalising people for small possessions of any drug, particularly cannabis, is a complete waste of time. It's a waste of resources, and you know, bringing people through the criminal justice system doesn't work. There's different models, and that model is stop criminalising people, and kind of you know, they're conversant adults, they make adult choices, and you know, criminalising somebody for drug use doesn't work, and we need something very, very different. And the ironic thing about it, Les Carncola, is that these all drugs that are Schedule A drugs are all controlled drugs. Okay, so that means that the only people that are allowed to actually have them is the state. But what we have at the moment is the opposite of that. The people that control largely the cannabis market is organised crime. That's who controls the cannabis market. So why allow that to happen? Why keep allowing that to happen? We need to take back control and stop criminalising people. So look, there's a debate to be had. I think there's a groundswell of opinion, not only in Ireland, but across the world, for something very different, a different narrative, and a different status quo. Because the status quo at the moment doesn't work. It hasn't been a deterrent, because the legislation at the moment that we have is meant to be a deterrent for somebody not to possess cannabis, not to sell cannabis, not to cultivate cannabis, and that's the opposite. It's done the opposite of that. It's driven around the ground, and it's largely controlled by the black market. So a better system is a system that's controlled by the state. That's a better system. It's a system that's best for everybody, whether you use cannabis or not. Actually, whether you use cannabis or not is irrelevant. We're looking at a societal issue here. And the government have talked about a harm reduction approach, a health-led approach. I mean, that's welcome, right? It's welcome. But I think it's rhetoric and lip service at the end of the day. If you believe this, if you believe in a health-led approach, then you would have to support this bill. If you do not support this bill, then I don't see the kind of the meaning in what you're talking about of a harm reduction. Surely, if you support the idea of decriminalisation, the issue of a health-led approach, you would support this bill. There's obviously going to be a wider debate around this issue very soon in the Citizens' Assembly. Very, very welcome. I think we need to, as I said, we need to have a grown-up discussion about drug use in this country, because for too long people who are criminalised, people who are marginalised, and the one thing you don't do to people is that. It's never worked. Giving people criminal convictions for small amounts of cannabis that kind of follows them around forever, I mean, it's barbaric. I mean, in years to come, they will look on the legislation that we have around drug use, and they will say, look, how stupid were these people? The people that installed these antiquated laws to criminalise people because of all circumstances that happens in life. So look, Minister, I hope the government on your side can support this piece of legislation. I think it's very timely. You'd look at other different parts of the world, they're looking at different models, and the model they're looking at is a model of not criminalising people and a harm reduction approach. So look, I look forward to the debate. I think we have to have a mature discussion about this. And I think the history and the times are on our backs. We've had 40 years of, you know, of bad laws. It's time to change these laws and make them good for everybody. Thank you.
Now, the motion for leave to introduce has been agreed. So, Deputy Kenny, if you could move that the second stage be taken in private members' time.
Yes, I do.
Is that agreed? Agreed. Garmil Magif. Agus anish by Susagan Fad Dahad Nomad.